Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Why, hello there. Welcome back.
So we had a conversation with Laurel, and I just want to double check. Yes, we look good. Okay. From the Galactic Federation and also the Pleiadian High Council. You know, the first part of the message, as is most of our communications, is of more personal nature, and then we get into other questions about the bigger picture, what's going on, updates, things along those lines. And sometimes it's beautiful when, she'll basically ask us, what do you want to understand? And that always makes me feel really good because it makes me feel like there's a little bit of pressure off in the world, because so much of the time it's more like, okay, we need to talk about this. There's an uptick here. There's this happening there. You need to be aware of this and that. Because there's so much going on in the world. So, when she started out like that, it felt like, oh gosh, what a breath of fresh air. There's not necessarily something impending, but there always is, there always are things impending, as we know, because we are in a war of consciousness is what's going on all around us every single day. Every single day. And some might ask the question, well, why does she talk to you guys? Why is the Galactic Federation talking to you? And really, that's a product of past life. Where we've been before, what we've done before, who we really are. Because, you might see us as Mike and Cindy, but in past lives, we've been others, other personas, other human beings, and other beings that were not necessarily of Earth. And this is part of the reality that can be absolutely mind-blowing for people to realize, because we're brought up in most of us have been brought up in a mindset that you live once and you die, and then there's Judgment Day and Resurrection Day and all this later on. As I remember, just even as a kid, most of the people that I grew up with didn't believe in reincarnation. But we find that reincarnation is something that's believed of by people all over the world instinctively. It's something that many of us know is true, and there's even biblical references to reincarnation. Some say you're Elijah, right? There's so many references to it, but why wouldn't they want you believing in reincarnation? Well, think about it. If you believe that you only live once and that there is one authoritative power governing everything here and now and in the afterlife, and if certain people are your only intercession to that power, they got all the control. This is, again, how people will adopt a belief system, strap bombs onto themselves, run and blow themselves and others up. And this is what is so fundamentally terrifying of a fundamentalist mindset, because it breeds extremism. And when we recognize and realize that, we haven't lived maybe once before, we've lived maybe dozens, hundreds, thousands, maybe even more lives, each time as a slightly different being, learning new things. It changes the perspective completely. So, part of why we're contacted is because we've worked with her in the past. We've worked with them in the past. We've actually been on that side of the screen, so to speak. And one of the things that I always bring up is going back to the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna, who is an incarnation of Vishnu, the preserving force of the universe, says the difference between me and you is that I remember my incarnations and you don't. Not that I've lived so many times and you've never ever lived before. No, they both did. They both had many different lives. But there's a veil. And the veil is for a purpose. Why? Because, we're here to learn. We're here to learn, to grow, in many cases to test ourselves.
Most definitely. So, a lot of people want to reach their guides, and they want the guides to tell them everything. Just, just give me solid information. Just give me, detailed information on what I'm supposed to do. But it doesn't work like that. We get the information that we get when we channel entities, but also when it comes to your guides, they can give you certain information in certain ways that does not interrupt your human experience because of free will. They care about you, so they don't want to interrupt that. You are here, you came down here, and it's not easy coming down here to Earth. My gosh, we learned some hard lessons. So they would never want to take that away from you by just giving you the answers to a really serious test.
Absolutely. Because again, whatever we do here, whatever we earn here, we carry forward into the next life. So, the deeper you go into this, the more you realize it really is so much like you're playing a game. Like, remember Dungeons and Dragons as kids? Just play with pencil, paper, and dice, and everything else was your imagination. Well, in so many ways, we're playing a big game of D&D here. And yet it does have consequences in our soul's growth. Now, ultimately, we don't have to worry about a vindictive creator that's looking to punish us at every moment. That's just basically part of the story that we're given by the powers that be. The universe is really, when you get down to it, a place where creativity is supposed to abound. Not one size fits all. This is the biggest thing. It's all about creativity. It's all about expressing yourself and learning and growing and loving and playing. And we don't do enough playing. As kids, we play, and think about how blissful that can be. Do you guys remember running around and just playing as kids, just making this world turn so magical? And somehow as adults, all the magic gets driven out of us by the society. It shouldn't be that way. It's not supposed to be that way. That's a product of the system that we're in. Who's Jerry, little Cindy? Well, that's my guide, my play pal and stuff. He's over there. No, he's not over there, little Cindy. And if you keep saying there's somebody named Jerry that we can't see, we're gonna have to take you to the DR, and he might prescribe something for you. When you get to a certain age, and so it gets driven out of us. Yet we all have guides. All of us have guides. Many of us, unfortunately, because of what we take into our body and our minds, are cut off from our guides, but they're always there. And where we are now, timeline-wise, as we've been saying, we have 1 foot in 3D, but the lead leg is up in the air, and at some point it's going to come down. When it comes down, it's going to be in a higher density. We're at that transition point. Everything is changing. Our whole reality is going to be very, very different down the line as we step into, the Dwapara. If you're looking at the Yugas, we go through these cyclic changes. We've been in the Kali Yuga. We still have 1 foot kind of in the Kali. The other foot is moving into the Dwapara, and the Kali is the Dark Age. When we get into this Dark Age, these dark entities, they're waiting for us. They know we're coming back. Well, not everybody, because again, people can't escape this. On an individual basis, there are always people rising up and achieving what we would call a rainbow body, achieving the growth of the Merkaba, the light body, where they can go anywhere in the universe now. Truly, that's achieving heaven, so to speak. Because so many of the heavens that we think about and we hear about and we talk about in these traditions, they're really just 4D. They're really just the dream state. They're a temporary thing. They don't, nothing truly lasts forever, because even in these amazingly long cycles of things, everything is always changing. Everything is energy. Energy can't be created or destroyed, but it will change forms. It will always be moving, ebbing, flowing. This is part, again, of the cycles. As we look at, we've been talking about how they're in a spiral. It looks like a circle from one point of view, but it's really a spiral, and we're either ascending or we're descending on the spiral. Each time is totally, totally unique.
It is. It's unique to us, and it is up to us as far as where do we want to go. Now, outside influences can have a manipulating effect on that, and that's why we want to kind of be away from the system, like this big system that's been created for us since we were children. They sent us to places that basically indoctrinate you and tell you how things are going to go. And this is what we need to start stepping away from so we can understand our own light. You know, we don't want to be illuminated by the light of another. You want to understand your own light, you know, brighten yourself, see what makes you tick. So that's where we're at now. We're at a point of relearning and understanding who we really are.
Most definitely. So we're going to share what we got from Laurel yesterday. And again, when we do these channeled messages, some of them come in the middle of the night. Some of them come at inopportune times. And basically, I have a recorder with me at all times. And so it could be the middle of the night, 2 a.m. All of a sudden, I'll hear a sign that somebody's coming through. Literally, sometimes I actually hear my name being called with the voice inflection that's not Cindy's. It's either Laurel or it could be one of our other guides. So, you know, scramble in the darkness, grab the voice recorder, get it over to her, and I have to run energy on her to keep her in a receptive state, in a state where her body can handle it. So sometimes, you know, it comes through muffled. We do have 4 different microphones. We have 4 computers. So it's not that we need a new microphone. It's not anything like that. It's just, it's tough. This is how we live 24/7, 365 days of the year. Now, sometimes it comes through at times when we're just meditating in the day and we're a little bit more prepared. So it's easier to, you know, get it in a clearer tone. And so we're going to share what Laurel was saying with us yesterday.
There were so many different things that I was going to
Human evolution. You were inquiring about this.
Yes.
We can give you a status on human evolution at this time, what many people may be thinking, feeling, experiencing in their day-to-day lives as they change. Many people may actually feel the time speeding up in their life, days blending into each other, nighttime blending into the daytime, not knowing where the day went. This is a very common symptom that's happening right now, along with other things becoming more difficult to tolerate. Many people who have had traumas, including this channel, these traumas are becoming more and more evident. People are becoming more sensitive to emotional traumas and physical traumas. These are being brought to the forefront for you to recognize and to heal. If there is anything in your life that is showing itself, it needs attention and love and understanding at this time. These are the things that humans are going through at this time. This changes usually from week to week. Sometimes if you are highly sensitive, you can feel the changes day to day.
I know our history is not what it has been made out to seem. We're recently talking about footprints in New Mexico that are like 25,000 years old, and that pushes back the timelines more. We talked before about Atlantis being kind of a global society. There's a lot of different thoughts on that. Was, again, Lemuria and Mu the exact same society, or did Lemuria come about after the fall of Mu and they split into Mu and Atlantis? When did Atlantis stop being? How long ago was it? Was it within one cycle of the yugas, within 25,000 years?
Atlantis fell during the cycle of the yugas. This most recent fall came at the beginning of this Kali Yuga that you are now moving out of. All of these societies, all of these legends lived in harmony for the most part for many, many cycles. Unfortunately, when you go into the dark yugas, this is when all of these societies fall into the controller's hands. They wait with the cycles. They wait at the bottom of the cycle for their time. You can say that they are, we call them bottom feeders. They wait for these collapses, and they are there to pick up the pieces and control them for as long as possible. Soon they will be by themselves as the cycle continues.
Will the stepping into the Bronze Age, the Dwapara, if we're using the Vedic terms, will that be within, say, within a lifetime? Will that be within, say, 50 to 100 years or less?
It will be. It is going to be difficult to really see it because this time is so chaotic. It is chaotic for you because you are at the receiving end of the most dramatic change of this cycle. You could say that what a spider sees as chaos, it is very different for a fly. You are at the receiving end of the chaos. So you are in a place where you have little understanding of what is happening. Your consciousness is not evolved enough to comprehend all of these changes. Makes it very difficult for the human body and human mind to go through these changes. Even though the changes are for the better, many times it feels so difficult because the pain is so intense at times in the soul, because you are healing so that you can move up in vibration.
If we have been operating on 3D when we are awake, in a waking state of consciousness, and then on 4D when we're sleeping, and we're just about to get into 4D now in a waking state, does that mean sleep patterns will be radically different? Will sleep be the same as it's been for us?
Sleep patterns will be much different. Right now it is important to sleep as much as possible so you can integrate all of these new energies into your soul. We do understand the way your societies are set up. It is very difficult to get this rest that your mind, body, and soul needs. After this cycle is almost completely over, humans may only need 1 to 2 hours of sleep at most. They will spend most of their days, most of their time searching for joy, searching for fun things to do. The mind will be expanded. A deeper understanding and appreciation of life is formed. So the human soul wants to remain in a state of joy. It is a rather beautiful sight.
I don't think most people in this system can even understand that. They can't seem to understand what we would do if we didn't have to work, where it would be just a pursuit of, like you said, joy, perhaps mostly through creativity of some sort.
To help bring about faster healing of the soul, it is imperative that you find out what brings you joy. What is your passion? Is it helping others? Is it singing? Is it playing music? Is it poetry? Find something that soothes your soul. Find something that brings your heart peace. While you are doing these things, the fabric of your soul is coming back together. It is healing the traumas, helping you increase in vibration.
Getting back to this world, it seems that La Palma is not slowing down. I would venture to guess that they're still using their frequencies, because it doesn't seem to be abating at all, if not perhaps getting worse.
We are concerned. We are watching this. It is happening very slowly. Our concern, though, is that the frequencies that they are using, the technology that they are using, is having an impact. And La Palma is increasing in activity. We do want people to be safe. We do not think it is going to cause a massive tsunami, but we do believe it's going to cause quite a bit of damage.
Damage just locally, or perhaps damage in other countries on other shores?
We are holding the intention that the damage will remain local.
So we'll stop on that point with what she had given us. So let's also put out that intent that the technologies that are being used on La Palma, for instance, as well as just everywhere we see the floods and all sorts of chaos going on, that as we have been following these things, you know, to me, it's become very apparent that it's not just about a grand solar minimum or a magnetic pole excursion. I think it's more that I could feel the interference. I could feel and sense the technologies that are in play and being used, and the timing of these things too is such that they're always meant to be maximizing disruption. And so, you know, let's send our positive intent out there that this will settle down, that their frequencies and their tools will be disrupted and no longer functioning, and let us keep sending out the positive intent that humanity will awaken to just how big this control grid on the planet has been, covering every facet of our lives. You know, as she was talking about finding your joy, it might look like different things to different people. You know, to some people, it might just simply be spending time out in nature and just absorbing the prana, you know, going deep into meditation and yoga and Qigong, Tai Chi, things like that. To other people, it could be pursuit of art of all different types. Think about that. Has it ever hit you that this society is so set up in such a way that it entraps you and keeps you from being creative? It keeps you from fully expressing yourself. At least it keeps the majority of people in this loop, as opposed to what it should really be, which is an expression of the soul in whatever way that makes you, well, in a state of bliss.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. A lot of times when if I'm looking at someone's chart and we're having a meeting, you look at the moon and you find out where the moon is. And wherever the moon sits, a lot of times if you surround yourself with those things, it can bring your soul peace. It brings your soul peace of mind. So there's different ways of finding out, what is going to center you, what is going to make you feel comfortable and at home. And one person we just had, one of our family members, one of the things that brings him peace is home improvement. Whenever he's working on his home or even other people's home, and he's making that home a better place to live and more comfortable for people in it, that brings him peace. So it's different for everybody, and it's up to us, and it's our life. We get the pleasure of trying to find out what brings us peace.
Most definitely. I mean, think about how many people work 5 days a week, 8 to 10 hours a day, just to get to that weekend. And then, one day might be all your chores and the other day might be play. So 1/7 of your life, if that, maybe 1/10, or if you figure in sleep, it's probably less than that, is really out there where you're fully expressing yourself and finding bliss.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sad, because that's not the way it's supposed to be. We start to recognize, well, we've seen that described as taxes. When's that free tax day or whatever they would call it, where you get to April or May, and the entire year up to that point is just paying taxes, and then the rest of it is quote unquote yours. The whole system is just really a joke, and it's a travesty, and it's set up to basically get us on that treadmill going nowhere, not realizing our divine potential, not realizing the bliss that our soul can achieve on this plane of existence. This is not a plane of existence that has to be viewed in a negative light. It's the control grid on the planet that's the negative light. Big difference there.
Mm-hmm. And now with everything that's going on, and we have this plague upon the land, we have a lot of people, who are not able to work right now because they're faced with certain circumstances, and they're having to find a different path and use this opportunity to figure out, what do you love to do? Most of us go through school and we're kind of pushed into something. We think we might like it. Well, maybe you didn't like it, but you did it because it got you by. Well, now is your chance to stop and take a moment and find out, what do I love to do? What does bring me peace? And find that out for yourself. Use this time to explore. Don't allow them to, upset us. And I just don't like how they have the power to really turn people on their heels and really upset them, because that's what they feed off. They feed off the anger. Let's not allow that. Let's look for the love. Let's look for the bliss. Let's look for the oneness and everything, instead of allowing them to get the better of us.
So when we look at these people that are controlling this reality, the corporate CEOs, the politicians that are really just puppets, and the ones that are enforcing this reality, you got to recognize, we got a term we could use for them that Laurel gave us. These are bottom feeders. They're not the creme de la creme. They're not up at the top. Spiritually speaking, these are the bottom feeders, the bottom of the barrel, that are basically doing their thing at the expense of the masses. It doesn't get any lower than that. So when we see people, like there was a food court in New York, and New York is one of those places that you have seen a huge control grid, just like we have on the other coast in California. And the New Yorkers they're asserting themselves now. And, they're doing that chant that's growing from coast to coast. It seems to be a tradition, a new tradition, that we have this chant. And, the first word does begin with, the same sound as pharma. If you know what I mean. And it has something to do with number 46, who's just, again, an obvious puppet and just a shell, truthfully, not even really a human when you get down to it. And, these are bottom dwellers. So, the bottom dwellers, they're trying to do their thing by controlling those that are rising upwards and rising way up and past where they could ever go. And so, in true bottom dweller fashion, they're trying to pull us down into the murky, dark depths that they are used to living in. But, that's not for us. We're going to rise up and out, and we're going to leave them behind. So they could keep dwelling on the bottom by themselves.
Right. And, they're very, very predatory. And that's just, one thing that I really don't like is predators. They feed off the innocent. And it's so cruel and it's so wicked. But that's what they do. And sometimes you just have to face that's what you're dealing with. And once you understand that and you know how to get away from it, then you do. Once you know better, you do better.
So, what's another purpose with beings such as those in the Galactic Federation, the true Galactic Federation, having people on the inside and having people here on the planet? Well, it's that disclosure, because, you've been brought up again, so many have this system so ingrained into them that to realize all of a sudden that there's intelligent life all around you on different densities, different planets, that could be shocking. Absolutely shocking. It could blow your reality. And again, when Orson Welles did the War of the Worlds and some people thought it was really happening, people were jumping off of bridges and off of rooftops. They were freaking out. So we are going to know that we're not alone, and we are going to see some beings that are going to be kind of freaky to our human eyes, but we will get used to that in time. And it's going to just change our whole paradigm. And that can be shocking. So that's part of the reason why they have people on the inside bringing this information out. And again, we know that the reach is far greater than what their numbers show, because they control the numbers, so they can show whatever they want. 1,000 people could see something and they might say 2 did. It doesn't matter, because that ripple is going and spreading out. And the more you guys share the message, whether it's through sharing the actual videos or just sharing the knowledge and working with each other to get out of the system, the bigger that ripple will become a positive tidal wave. So let us send that intent out. And I want to thank everybody that has been supporting us on Patreon, Ko-Fi, and also by checking out Medicinal Foods. There's a link at the top of every video. And so just use the coupon code EEA for an extra 5% off the order. And as you fill up your cart, you could get up to 25% off and free shipping. And eventually, our hope is that we adopt a system like they have in the higher realms, where everything is just a simple, even energy exchange, and where people wouldn't want to take advantage of another person in an energetic way. When you look to the system that we have out there with these people out there that are billionaires hoarding all this positive energy, keeping it from doing positive things for the masses out there, karmically, it's not good. And karmically, that's why they might look like they're at the top, but they're bottom dwellers. And that's not for us.
No, definitely not. We're creators.
Yes. As always, guys, God bless and namaste.
Namaste.